You're grinding every day. Long hours, no backup, no accountability. That ends now. The Empower Solopreneur Mastermind gives you one simple advantage: a weekly power session that turns isolation into domination. Every Friday morning on Zoom, you'll get real coaching and real feedback to make real moves. Join a group of driven professionals in a program designed for solopreneurs and people working at home. Stop getting stuck. Start scaling. Seats are limited. Lock in yours today at modernobserver.com/empower-mastermind.
Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase, the podcast that helps you succeed in your business, life, and career. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin with the Modern Observer Group, and with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How about you, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, we're
Yep.
we're 2 weeks into the new year, and I've just hit the ground running, and I'm just keep going.
There you go. Like the ever ready bunny or whatever.
That's yeah, is that still a thing, or are we dating ourselves with that?
I think the battery wore out.
The battery the battery finally ran out.
So, no, ever ready's still going strong though. I haven't seen that commercial in ages.
Oh yeah, the Energizer is still there. I see the bunny every once in a while, but I haven't seen a commercial with them in a long time.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about a process that we use called pace yourself. And this is a key to getting yourself to accomplish whatever goal you set forward. Whether it's a business goal, a personal goal, a family goal, doesn't matter. This works for all of it. And it's a very simple system. It's PACE, P-A-C-E, and that stands for plan, act, communicate, and enjoy. So when you pace yourself, it all starts with the planning. And we've done a lot of podcasts on goal setting, planning, and that all fits into this section. You know, you have to understand what your goals are, what resources you're going to need to achieve them, and what new skills you might need to learn to be able to really move your plan forward. So that's the first step, is putting together a plan. Now, in terms of how you put together a plan, that's pretty much up to you. You can put something together that's very complicated, a full-fledged business plan with financials and everything. You can put together what I used to call the recipe card business plan, which was literally thinking of your business or your goal as a recipe. The name of the recipe is what the goal is. The ingredient list is the resources you're going to need, and the recipe itself is the process you're going to follow to achieve that goal. And that's much doesn't matter how you do it as long as you get your plan in place. And I do recommend actually writing the plan down. That does tend to not just cement it in your mind, but it adds a bit of accountability to it rather than just a thought in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a zillion things going on in our head and so on and so forth. And you could be crystal clear one moment and the next minute, okay, now what was I thinking about? So getting it down and writing, obviously it's there for you all the time, but it is, as you're saying, accountability because it's staring at you right there. And I mean, we've talked a lot about putting together our planning for the future, setting goals and that kind of stuff. And the more that you have that in front of you in an organized fashion, a visual is a great, great way to do that. So, I mean, if that's on your computer or wherever you put that so that you have that right there, it's a very, very easy way to prevent procrastination.
Yes, it is. And as I said, it doesn't have to be a complicated plan. It can be. There is some very powerful planning software out there that if you want to dig into, go right ahead if that's what's going to get you to where you want to go. But you can just grab a legal pad and scratch a couple of things down. Figure it out. As long as it's got the three elements of what your goal is, what resources you need, and how you're going to do it. Again, it's basically a recipe. And most of us at some point have followed a recipe. That's the simplest form that a plan takes. So the second step in this is act. And we've also talked a lot about this. You have to actually take action. Planning is great. It's a necessary step. And in fact, studies have shown that when you put a good plan together, you can cut 20% off of the time it takes you to achieve the goal, rather than just jumping in, doing willy-nilly actions, and not planning it out. So there are very good reasons for planning. But planning is only the first step, because if you don't act, nothing gets done. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And what I generally recommend is, and we've talked about this before, break it down. What is the simplest step you can do to move forward? And do that. And then once you finish that, what's the next simplest step you can do? You know, again, break it down into the littlest possible pieces, because this way you're not getting overwhelmed. And if the pieces are simple and one leads into the next, you start building momentum and you get things done faster, you push forward, and it's not just a great way to get things done. It's a great way for you to stay motivated. And that's the big problem with the action stage is people lose motivation. So if you've got a great way to stay motivated, you need to use that in the act stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to be getting to celebration and things like that um, when we're talking about this later on. But getting things going, I mean, the hardest thing to do is to start. But once you do, and you have a few accomplishments based upon doing that, you've heard of the phrase "you're on a roll," and you're on a roll. You got momentum going, and once you get that momentum going, it's really, really important. Just keep that going. But it's easier to do that once you're into it. So, I mean, obviously, for many, many people, including the person in the mirror, moi, toughest thing to do is to get started and get going on it. But once you do, wow, it's great.
It is. And again, part of taking action is actually making the commitment to do it. And commitment is so important, especially when it's a longer goal, a harder goal. You need to make that commitment. It's not enough just to be interested in having this happen. You need to be committed. And what's the difference between interested and committed? I always fall back on the old saying, if you take a ham and eggs breakfast, the chicken was interested, the pig was committed. So make that commitment to get things done and take the action. Once you do that, the next step is communicate. Now, this takes a lot of different forms. If it's a business, you're talking about getting buy-in from the various people, audiences that have to be involved in this. It involves sales and marketing because, as we always say, if nobody knows you're out there, they're not going to buy from you. If nobody knows what you're selling, they're not going to buy from you. So communication is the next step. On a personal level, communication is about building those relationships. Something else we talk about a lot because it's easier to do things when you've got somebody else working with you, holding you accountable. And actually, that's a misnomer because realistically, you're the only one that can truly hold yourself accountable. But let's face it, if you tell your best friend that you are going to do something and you start falling short, nobody is going to make fun of you quite like a best friend does. So communication is a big part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you really wanna make it happen, you gotta bring other people along with you because otherwise, if you just get it done yourself, uh, you can't celebrate just with yourself. You want other people to ride with you, and basically, once that momentum gets going and, you get the village aboard instead of just, the island, it's just, so important to do that, and, obviously, once you achieve something by doing this and you're bringing everybody else along, coming up with the next plan and the next plan and just going through the pace with everything that you're doing is going to be a whole lot easier to do. But again, the key is to just get it going once and telling people that you're doing it is really, really important. So,
And of course, it doesn't matter how you tell them, as long as you get the word out. That's the key. You can post on social media about it. You can make videos about it. You can talk about it when you're gathering with friends or at networking events. But the idea is you need to be talking about it. And ideally, you should be talking about it in the present tense, that this is already happening. Not this is something you're going to do. This is something you hope is going to happen. No, this is something that's happening. It's something you're doing. And for a lot of people, that's a big mindset shift. But it's very important with communications because you are your own worst audience. So if you start talking about it like it's actually happening, like you're actually doing it already, you feel the need to keep the action going. And there's a lot of overlap between the action step and the communication step because you're going to want to be communicating along the way. It's not finish all the actions and then move on to communications like it is with plan and act. So there's a lot of interaction between the actions you take and then telling people about them. And if you're a business, you want to be yelling stuff from the rooftops. So it's not just about keeping employees or customers up to date. You want to be sending out press releases. You want to be making announcements at networking meetings. You want to be sending out mass emails saying, "You're not going to believe what we've got coming up for you. Here's a sneak peek." All of that is communications, but it's also sales and marketing. And the fact of the matter is, most people hate to be thought of as a salesperson, but we all are salespeople. It's part of us communicating. We've got this image in our head of the local used car salesperson on the local channel making this cheesy commercial. But when you really think about it, we all sell every day. If you're having a conversation with your friends about where to go out to eat and you've got someplace you really want to go, what you're doing is selling them on the idea. If you're looking for a new job, you're selling potential employers on your abilities. If you're trying to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you're selling somebody else on you. Sales is part of everything we do, and it's a crucial part of communications. So don't get shy when you're communicating. This is your time to toot your own horn. You don't necessarily want to be boasting all the time, and you certainly don't want to be gloating about your accomplishments. but you want to be proud of them and you want to let people know that.
Yeah, you talk about plan, understanding your goals, and then what resources you need, and acting and communicating comes hand in hand with that. If you have the list of the people that you need to communicate with, tell people what you're doing, and so on and so forth, you're actually creating the resources that you need to get your plan done in the first place. And it's also an action that you're doing too. So, I mean, a lot of these things are interrelated, but when you started talking about that, that's the thing that really, really hit me is the resources you need, yeah, it's the stuff that's down on paper, and you might need this technology and this and whatever, but so important is the people.
Yes, people are always important to what you're doing. Even the solopreneur has other people that they rely on, customers, suppliers, partners. There's a saying, nobody is a self-made success. Everybody is relying on somebody, whether it's a mentor, a teacher, a parent who taught you things, whether it's your customers, your community. We are all part of a greater whole. So keeping things to yourself doesn't advance your goal. And that's why communications is so important. And then the
Yeah.
E is enjoy. And this, even though the E comes at the end of pace, you should not be waiting till the end to enjoy it. First of all, when you set your goals, these should be things that you should enjoy getting there, or at the very least, enjoy the result. But nobody makes that giant leap. It doesn't happen all at once. So you have to celebrate all those little wins along the way. It's part of keeping you motivated. So every time you take a successful action, every time you communicate to somebody about what's going on and you grab their attention, these are wins to be enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk a lot about as far as the celebration and enjoying things. If you don't do that, why are you doing it in the first place? As far as I'm concerned, I mean, if you're trying to do something and you're not going to celebrate it afterwards, what's the we're social creatures and we need to be celebrating ourselves and everything that we're doing. And I know we talk oftentimes as far as not wanting to celebrate, you don't think you're worth it or worthy and so on and so forth. You are. And what's so important to realize too is when you're getting down on yourself, you maybe had a bad day and so on and so forth. Just remember what we've talked about so many times. Try changing the yes buts, which are all the reasons why you're going to procrastinate and everything else, to ands for a week. And what an and is, you're normally going to come up with a celebration, something to celebrate because what you've done is come up with a new idea. You've motivated yourself. You're complimenting yourself. It's so important to just keep on going. And basically, and is collaboration. And you need to collaborate with yourself moment by moment, doing these things sometimes to make things going instead of just wallowing in the butts.
Yes. And the enjoyment is also part of your mindset. It's a way you look at things. I had this situation come up just the other day. A friend of mine had to take her niece to urgent care because she wasn't feeling well. And it turned out she was absolutely fine. There was nothing wrong with her. They didn't know, what had happened, but everything was great. Well, my friend started getting annoyed because, well, there was nothing wrong with her. They had to change their entire plan for the day. It was all this wasted time, all for nothing. And I said, well, wait a minute. If it had been something serious and you hadn't taken her to urgent care, how would you have felt about that? And of course, she said, well, I would have felt awful. That's, why I took her. It's like, yes. So you need to celebrate that, yeah, you did what was necessary and it wasn't anything serious. There was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, it was a waste of time. No, it was a positive result. And this happens all the time. People will do things on an everyday basis and they'll just say, oh, well, that was a waste of time. It's like, well, was it really? You have to look at these things and find something to enjoy in them. And it's the key to keeping you motivated. It's the key to keeping your mindset positive, and it's the key to finding more opportunities. Because when you're open to the enjoyment, that's when you see things.
Yeah, absolutely. Positive mindset is the key. I mean, I talk about my 4 Ps: purpose, passion, positivity, and a plan, and positivity is right in there. And just like everything else, every single moment is a new opportunity to choose a positive mindset. So even if you slip up, which you're going to, if you can go back to that and just basically by going through this pace process, really, really reinforce your positive mindset through celebrating the things that you're getting done and so on and so forth. It's so, so important to look at that. So, I mean, really, as silly as it sounds, and I've said this a bunch of times, go to the mirror first thing every single morning and take a look at that person in the mirror and smile at yourself. Give yourself a high five, as silly as it seems, because you are worth celebrating. You came from unconditional love, just like the whole universe did, and you're part of that, whether you feel like you deserve it or not. You just got to accept that and be aware that you're doing that. And acceptance is a big word. You can accept what you have been and so on and so forth, but you can also accept the fact that you have that potential and you have it every single present moment just by deciding to be positive and taking action based upon your positivity.
Right. And let's face it, no plan ever goes smoothly. There's always an obstacle, there's always a setback, but you have to understand that that's normal. That happens all the time. Don't let that deter you. And being able to find things you enjoy along the way helps you do that. So those are the parts of pace yourself, but as a whole, as we said, yes, there's a bit of plan has to come first and then act, but other than that, these are really integrated. And pacing yourself is truly important. Ask any runner. If you start a marathon and you're going full out, you're going to break down, you're going to become exhausted before you can ever get near the finish line. The key to long races is pacing yourself. It's finding that rhythm. And that's the other part of pace. It's finding your own rhythm, moving forward consistently, and understanding that progress is better than perfection. You keep taking steps forward, you keep making more progress, you keep moving forward at your pace and keep going. And that's how you get more done.
Yep. And that's where the action side of things, I mean, this all comes together so nicely, but the action side of things, we talk about time management and setting aside time blocks and so on and so forth. So you actually have a handle on, I'm just getting up today. What am I going to do today? It's right in front of you. So that's a huge part of it. And that's obviously with the rhythm you're talking about marathons and so on and so forth. You absolutely have to plan that. And when you talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
like yourself, life hopefully is gonna be a long life, and you gotta get the rhythm to for for your life, and, we talk about, the planning side of things, and we talk about not just for your business. I mean, when you talk about understanding your goals and you know what resources you need, your goals, they have to be for personal goals and everything else that you're doing, professional and so on. It's not just to accomplish something like a bestseller or this or that or whatever. It's gotta be all encompassing. And when it is all encompassing, all these things that you get in trouble with as far as feeling really insecure about things and unworthy and so on and so forth, if you're putting them all together, they all work beautifully. So it's so, so important to set that plan for not only your business, but for every single facet of your life and get that down on paper so that you are acting every day on doing certain things that you're going to do. I mean, the more organized you are up front, it's obviously going to really, really build you up as far as your self-esteem and your motivation and so on and so forth. And it's something that you will enjoy doing a whole lot more too. So it's,
Right.
I mean, it's all related. This is so simple, and you and I both love the term simplicity. I mean, Lao Tzu,
Yes.
hundreds of years before BC, said, "I have just three things to teach you: simplicity, patience, compassion. These are your three greatest treasures." And that's so true.
Yes, in fact, that's where most plans fall apart, is they get to be too complicated. You want to keep things as simple as possible. And you should be working on that in the planning stage. You mentioned time management, all of that, the scheduling, to-do lists, task lists, that can all be part of the planning stage if you want to get that complex. There's a simplicity in that complexity because you're going deeper into the plan. But because you're doing that, you're setting time aside. You're listing the resources. You're listing tasks. So your action steps are all laid out for you. What you have to do, when you have to do it, how long it's going to take, which makes the rest of it so much easier. So, yes, you want to keep your plan as simple as possible, but no simpler. You want it to be easy to understand, but you also want it to have all of the elements that you're going to need to keep moving forward. So spend that time on the plan and then commit to the action. Focus on what you're doing and say, this is going to happen. When you communicate, communicate positively. You're not looking for a 2% error rate. You're looking for 98% error free. You're not looking for a way not for something to happen. You're looking for things to happen. Communicate in the affirmative because that sets the tone and it sets your mindset, setting you up for enjoy. Take the little wins. We all have a habit of going, oh, that was nothing. You know what? Nothing is nothing. Everything you do, everything you accomplish deserves to be celebrated. So take the small wins. And those small wins are going to add up to really big wins. And when you've got those really big wins, that's when the celebration really takes off.
Absolutely. Basically, when you're looking at the communication side of things, I mean, taking a look at life, we're coming up on the Olympics and we have the teams for the different countries, but you have teams that are doing things, you have individuals that are doing things, and talking about the celebration and the enjoyment part of that, everybody gets involved with that. And you will see competitors, even if they're on different teams and so on and so forth, celebrating the achievements of others. And that's one of the things that we really, really have to realize as far as teamwork goes, is that as a world, we are all one. And yeah, we're going to celebrate other people's achievements and so on and so forth. Maybe we want to win ourselves and so on. But just by going through doing what you're doing and having made the team and getting something done, you've achieved something in the first place. You may not be the gold medal winner, but you have made a step ahead in your life. And it's something that you need to enjoy and celebrate with people and your whole team around you.
Yes, you do. And we're just about out of time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners this week?
I think I just kind of told you. I mean, obviously, yeah, planning, putting the plan together, acting on it, most importantly, communicating, getting that team together and enjoying and celebrating is so, so important. But really what the message is you have a whole lot of wonderful people around you who you are in touch with And you talk about this every year as far as reaching out to people that you haven't been in touch with for a long time. But sit down and write these things down and incorporate all them into what you're doing now. And the beginning of the year is a great, great time to just set aside some time to put together a plan for reaching out a little bit more and getting more people involved. And just doing that by itself is a wonderful thing to start your pace with.
Yes, it is. And I think that's the big takeaway for me is that you have to get started. Pace yourself, but now is the time to kick that off. So don't worry necessarily about a year-long goal. What are you going to do this quarter, this month, this week? It doesn't have to be a long stretch. Pace yourself. Put together your goals, put together the plan, take the action, communicate what you're doing, and enjoy the wins. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch every episode at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.